Hello, I'm Stephen. This documentary is going to be focusing on the drug methylene dioxymethamphetamine, more commonly known as MDMA or ecstasy. I will be going through the history of the drug and how the drug has progressed since its inception, as well as people's opinion on the substance.
In terms of sort of MDMA and drug uses like ecstasy, etc., far less common these days than previously. I'd suggest it was very active in the 1970s, really used in sort of dance floors and at sort of parties, etc. Not so much these days. I suggest more marijuana, more cocaine being used these days, and recreational habits have changed. So generally a decline in the use of MDMA. It's made of a number of components. I'm not going to tell you the exact ones because you could in theory try and synthesize it and make it yourself. It is quite hard to make and you need a number of different components to add together to make the actual molecule itself. It's mainly an organic chemical made out of a lot of carbon, lots of hydrogens and a bit of sulfur as well. Okay, and it is hard to make, as I said. I think it depends on the setting you're in. So if you're in sort of in general workplace and education, or even if you're just in a work as an accountant, etc., you're not going to come across them. In a social setting, sort of at a nightclub, obviously festivals, etc., you're going to come across it a lot more under many different guises as well. So you're not just going to get the traditional white crystalline pill that might be the MDMA. You might get it in various other forms, various strengths, various shapes, sizes. And that will be far more common and frequent than you would in normal day-to-day practice. It depends. So you only for a recreational drug, you only need 0.3 milligrams to be legally over the legal dose. In terms of how it affects someone, depends on the shape, the body size, how much water they've got in them, how active they are, how much muscles they've got, etc. So there's no definitive answer to that. But what I would say is obviously every pill of, let's say, MDMA or ecstasy you take will affect people differently depending on their whole, not genetic makeup, but their actual physical makeup. Again, depending on the actual person themselves, drugs affect people in different ways, irrespective of if it's marijuana, MDMA, cocaine, etc. But particularly if you're talking about ecstasy, you're talking about anxiety. So these are the mental ones: anxiety, psychosis possibly. Long-term effects psychologically, you might have cognitive impairments, so your brain's not working fully functionally. Physically, you're going to be spaced out, your pupils are going to be dilated, and you can tell the people on it because the eyes go really, really broad. You also find that you get very dehydrated, you get a faster heartbeat. This is why they often use it sort of in dance arenas, etc. Because your heartbeat gets going, your adrenaline gets pumping, and that actually is probably the most dangerous thing about it. The worst thing to do with MDMA, and sometimes, is actually drink water. It's one of the interesting drugs whereby once you take it, and most of the time when people take it in a social setting like at dance clubs, etc., because they're dancing, they dance for ages and they don't know how long they've danced, they sweat a lot, they get really dehydrated. When they get really dehydrated, it becomes really dangerous. What tends to happen then, irrespective of whether it's vodka or alcohol, like in the case of Tom's, if you even drink too much water, you'll potentially die, because the water has an adverse effect on the rehydration, and it counteracts the MDMA. So no matter, depending on how much MDMA you've taken, it depends on how much water you need to rehydrate yourself. But for instance, you should never really take more than, again depending on your amount, but a pint of water every hour once you've been dancing. Okay? Even the smallest amount would. So if we're saying the lethal dose, roughly, so when people die on MDMA, is about 1.7 milligrams. Okay, which is a really small. That's the approximate average. When you find people who are overdosed on ecstasy, etc., it's only about 6 to 7 milligrams. And it's not because they've taken 20 pills. They may have only taken one, may have taken two, but it's all the other factors like the rehydration and the alcohol, etc. But in terms of affecting you, it's a similar, any kind of drug you have, whether it's coffee, tea, paracetamol, even a little bit, will actually affect how your brain works.
Do you know what amount it takes for one to become addicted to the drug?
Again, there's no prescriptive limit. It depends on particularly in ecstasy's case, how frequently you're going out, how available it is to you, your monetary situation. There's no actual toxicity that would make you, if you have one pill doesn't mean you're addicted. It's like if you have coffee or tea or alcohol. Just because you have one pint doesn't mean you're addicted to it. Okay, it depends on the long-term scale. Okay.
Drug arrests are a lot higher now. I mean, I don't see when we PCSO we don't actually arrest, so I don't know myself, but I think it's a lot higher than it used to be.
After this, the drug took off and became one of the most commonly taken drugs in the 80s, getting a lot of media attention. A national survey of drug states 17 million people have used the drug MDMA at some point during their lives. MDMA is a highly addictive drug which can lead to many health problems. However, get too involved and it can lead to more extreme problems such as crime, police, behind bars. Thousands are arrested every year related to the drug MDMA. Overdoses are becoming more common. Don't let this be you.